Hi, I'm Drew, and I have a story of a spring break trip that went horribly wrong.
Hi, I'm Darren, and I have a story involving a certain archaeologist. I wonder if you can guess who that is.
Hi, I'm Adri, and I'm going to be breaking the habit tonight.
What does all this have to do with the word ritual? Find out in this episode of History Bluffs. Welcome to another weekly episode of History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. I want to welcome to the show, it's your one and only, it's your favorite host, it's Carlos! There he is. Oh, that's him in the middle.
I'm the host. Welcome to another weekly episode of History Bluffs. Thank you for joining us today. I am Carlos Rivera, your host. I'm hosting here from Chicago, as I just assumed people are coming in, so we'll verify that in a moment. Let me just tell you what the show is about. I'm sure you've seen it, you know it, you love it, but just in case this is your first time watching, we have count them, three armchair historians, and they will be given a topic. They're going to be telling you a story, all right? Now, two of them are going to be telling you a truthful historical story based on the topic that we have today, which we'll find out about in a moment. But one of them will be making most of it up, most, if not all of it up. They are our titular history bluff, hence Speaking of weirdly placed sound effects, tech guy Adam, how are you doing today, Adam?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Carlos. Thank you for being our host today. Love having you as always.
Oh, wonderful. You know what, Adam? While I have you on the line, Adam, are you coming in from Chicago?
I am not in Chicago. I am in the southeast in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, okay. How peculiar. I'm sure the only one. Adam, since we have you on the line, why don't you go ahead and put up them rules for the game and tell us about the rules if you'd like.
I can do that. Let's do it. Every game show has rules, so here they are. The rules for our contestant historians are simple. They are inspired by the topic, which this week is ritual.
Ooh.
And those stories must be factual if you are telling the truth, but you may be bluffing, and if you are a bluff, there is one among the three armchair historians. Their bluff must be fictional. Now, we acknowledge that we're on planet Earth, and there are things like the Atlantic Ocean and potatoes, so you may hear some facts peppered in the story, but the main narrative must be a bluff. And then finally, no audience help. We love your engagement, so please comment and go ahead and try to point out fallacies that you hear if you're in our live studio or the internet. But do not Google and give away the goat before the big reveal at the end, please. Thank you. That's right. No, it's cool. You'll play along. It'll be fun. You'll enjoy that very much. So those are the rules, Carlos.
All right. Alleged potatoes and alleged Atlantic Ocean. We'll see. We'll see. We don't want to, we'll figure that out. That's the show, Adam. We don't assume anything until we have a vote at the end of the show.
That's right.
Have the rules. So let's introduce our
Oh.
armchair historians for today before we get started.
You've got a fan, Carlos. You've got a Chi-Town fan in the audience.
Yeah.
Chi-Town.
Chi-Town.
Hey, we gotta love Chi-Town.
Isn't it, Laura? That's a real Chi-Town person.
Oh.
It's boiling out here. Ooh, my dogs are barking from all this heat. All right, speaking of barking dogs, let's talk with our first armchair historian. It happens to be the one at the top of the pile, Darren.
Oh, that's me.
Darren, you coming to us from Louisiana?
I am coming to you from somewhere in Florida, but I'm doing a story about Indiana Jones, who hails from your neck of the woods. He was a professor at University of Chicago, I believe.
I think you're right. Okay, you know what? Speaking of history, speaking of rituals, one of the rituals way back when they would do, I don't know if you want to call this a ritual, but it's something they do back in the Northeast, back in Massachusetts and Salem. They would burn people at the stake if they thought they were witches. Okay. Now, if you were ever unfortunately burned at the stake, what reason would they have to burn you at the stake, Darren?
Probably for being an unbelievably pale shade of white.
Okay. Too pale.
Like they
Too
might
pale.
mistake me for a ghost.
He's a ghost. Not even a witch, he's a ghost. Burn him. I'm not sure if that would work on a ghost, but they try it anyway, just to see. Thank you very much, Darren. Good luck to you, sir. And we're looking forward to hearing your story. Now, our next guest, it looks like if we're going, I don't know, let's say we're going clockwise here or counterclockwise. Adri. Adri, you're our next guest. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Do you also hail from Louisiana?
No, I hail from also somewhere in Florida.
Oh, all these Florida people today. What's going on? Jeez Louise. Adrian, we are looking forward to hearing your story today and trying to figure out if it's factual or fictional. Adrian, if you were a witch burned at the stake, what reason would they have to burn you?
What reason would they not have to burn me?
Ooh,
Is the real question.
saucy.
There's not just one. There's many.
Adrian's living her best life back in whatever 1600 Salem. Okay, thank you very
That's
much,
right.
Adrian. Good luck to you today. Finally, we got Drew. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing great, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Now, surely you are in Chicago. I've seen you in Chicago. Surely you're coming from Chicago.
You nailed it. I am in Chicago. I like how my competitors here are somewhere in Florida. They won't they won't tell us exactly where. It's something secretive already happening with this show.
Sus, very sus. Speaking of secretive, if you had a secret back in 1600 Salem, which would cause the people to burn you at the stake for witchcraft, what would that secret be?
Well, if they're burning Darren because of his paleness, they're certainly burning me too. So I'm a dead man based on that science.
They're both
Otherwise,
witches.
otherwise, probably just for being too darn cute.
Oh, he's just too darn handsome. I don't want to
Aw.
compete against that. Burn him. Yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. Well, good luck to you today, Drew. We have Darren, we have Adrian, we have Drew. They're ready to go. We're ready to get this game started. Okay. Adam, you've already told us the topic for tonight. It is ritual. Now, the historians were given this topic shortly prior to the show. They've been given an opportunity to craft some stories, and by craft I mean to go and do some research on Google and Wiki and Bing, maybe. I don't know. I don't judge. But again, one of them is doing a bluff, which means that they're taking little pieces of truth and they're peppering that on a big old fictional sandwich. Whilst the factual people are taking mostly facts, but maybe they'll pepper in, some exaggerations just to make it fun, but mostly. Okay, so folks, I think we're ready.
I think Carlos, it's time to bring out the one thing that keeps us on track for the whole show. It's the Round Tracker 9000.
Round Tracker 9000, aka the Roundulator. Let's
The
see that up here.
Roundulator.
Roundulator up there, the Round Tracker 9000. And it's going to keep track for each one of our rounds to make sure everyone has 3 chances. Each person will get to speak in each round. They'll each have a minute to start, continue, and complete their story. While they're doing this, you at home can begin guessing and speculating who you think is telling the truth and who you think is a buff. But please, if you know for sure, don't spoil it for the rest of us. And don't, like we said before with the rules, don't cheat and Google to check for sure. It's for fun. All right, I think we're ready.
Yeah, we are.
Round 1.
Let's do it. Round number 1. Here we are, Carlos. We are at the top of round number 1.
Round 1 with a point towards single. We're going to start with you, Darren. You're going to have 60 seconds on the clock. 1 full minute. You can begin when you hear the bong.
All right. The year was 1935, and fictional archaeologist Indiana Jones is on the run in India with Short Round and Willie Scott. And while the movie is undoubtedly fictional, like all Indiana Jones movies, its plot hinges on real stories. Except for Crystal Skull, everyone knows those are totally fake. Now, what I want to be clear on is what I mean. So let's take the Holy Grail, for example. Now, we can't say for sure if it really exists, but what we can say for sure is there's a history of stories about it dating back thousands of years. Unlike this guy, who is so fake that he has his own Wikipedia page about how fake this statue is that they made just for the first movie. And so the Temple of Doom is about Shiva stones, which are part and parcel of Indian mythology, and you can read about them in the Vedas, which are the sacred texts of Hindustan, and they date all the way back to 1500 BC.
All right. Started. Darren, I hope that you didn't pick this topic theme just to show off your little statue.
My collection of Indiana Jones props, yes.
Exactly. Please don't sell things through our game show like you are wont to do.
I do have an eBay channel.
Whoa.
On your personal Etsy, okay?
Yeah.
What do you think about Darren's story so far? Is it factual or fictional?
Were you asking me? I didn't hear who you called on there.
Adri.
Oh, me? Okay. Well, I would say up to right now, he's on par. Everything he said sounds pretty factual. I have nothing to really push back on at the moment, but I can't wait for round 2 because I'm pretty sure that's when the shoe drops.
All right, that's I'm going to pick you apart, Darren. And do you think Darren's story was full of Sheba stones or full of bull Sheba?
Yeah, he first of all, I didn't know we were allowed to bring props to this show. First thing I thought, he showed that gold statue, and I thought, my God, is Darren a Tomb Raider? Did he steal that from a museum? It belongs in a museum. He's got the Holy Grail. He's got everything. Like, next thing you know, I mean, what's he going to bring out next? A whip? But everything seems factual so far.
I do have one.
You know what's not factual? That grail is not the Holy Grail. It's not made of wood, Darren.
That is true.
You chose poorly. Nope. All right. Thank you very much, Darren. Now we're going to move on to Adri. We're going to go with you next.
Okay.
Adri, we're going to also have 60 seconds on the clock to start your story. Okay. So when you hear the boom, begin.
All right, so the theme or the topic this week was ritual. A synonym of ritual is habit, and nuns wear habits. So I'm telling you the story of a bad nun. Her name was Sister Catalina de Eruso. Now, the fate of Catalina was decided long before she was born because her father was a soldier who was gravely wounded. And when he was in this tragic situation, he made a deal with the Virgin of Atocha, and he said that all of his sons, if you let me live, all of my sons are going to be soldiers, and my daughters will all be nuns. So when Catalina was born in 1592, it was automatically she was going to be a nun. So by the age of 15, she was already living in a convent. She was on her way to becoming a nun when she got into a fight with one of the older nuns, and she ended up stealing all the money from the convent, jumping over the wall, and she was vagrant for a little while.
All right, vagrant nun. Okay, Darren.
That's the next hot Netflix top series right there.
Nun. Or a Grindhouse movie. One Grindhouse movie never made. Darren, you heard the beginning of Adri's story. Was this story about the nun, Sister Catalina del Russo, or is this story a ruse? Oh!
Well, right now, I don't care either way because odds are part 2 is either going to be the origin of Catalina Island dressing, which is delicious, or it's going to be about a nun fight. And either way, I'm a winner just for watching part 2 of the story.
There's also the Catalina wine mixer.
Oh, of course.
That's an option.
From Step Brothers, yes.
That's an option.
Oh, boy.
This could go anywhere.
I'm thinking that this story may have none of the truth. What do you think?
Yeah, there's parts of the story that already makes me feel like she found like the lost script to a unmade Indiana Jones movie. I feel like there's a lot of room where these stories could certainly intertwine a bit. But just like Darren, I'm intrigued. Just as soon as she brought in a fighting an older nun, I'm all about the nun fight. I hope they use nunchucks.
Oh
Ooh,
boy.
Hmm,
Get that
that's
one, Adam.
there
There we
it
go.
is. It's
I would
one
have
of them.
chosen rim shop, but fine.
Yeah, I have lower standards.
All right. I would have given you a wah 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 wah.
Well, we'll save it.
Okay, Drew.
Yes, sir.
Despite my instincts, I'm going to let you go next, and now you will have 60 seconds on the clock to begin to tell us your factual or fictional tale.
Yeah.
You can begin when you hear the boom.
Hey, in 1989, a young college student headed to South Padre Island, Texas, for what was supposed to be a fun spring break week of partying. Mark James Kilroy and his friends arrived at the popular spring break destination on March 10th of 89. They hung out at the beach all day in the morning. They attended a Miss Tan Line contest every afternoon. And then after a quick nap, they freshened up and went out to party at night. South Padre Island is very close to the Mexican town of Matamoros. So it's very common for college kids to drive there, drive to the border, park their cars, and walk on foot into Mexico. It certainly helps that the drinking age is 18. Anyways, on March 13th, they headed to Matamoros for another night of partying. Around 2 a.m., a friend remembered seeing Mark chatting with a contestant from the Miss Tan Line contest. The friend ducked into an alley to take a piss, and when he came back out, his friend Mark was gone. They searched for him till 4:30, couldn't find him. Next day, they filed a police report. Oh, I thought I heard the buzzer, but there you go.
Oh, well, the buzzer's about to happen, Drew, any second.
Okay,
I
my
promise you
bad.
that. Oh, there it is.
There we
Okay,
go.
that was Drew.
Better, Adam.
We rushed at the
Better.
end. I thought I heard the timer.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Drew. Drew just started to tell his story here. Now, is his story about Mark James Kilroy, or is Drew being a killjoy with a
ooh,
lie?
ooh. Well, I don't know if he's lying quite yet. I feel like, based on my own experience as a 19-year-old in Cancun, also ducking into alleys to go to the bathroom, I feel like he's on par with a straight and narrow story so far. So, no accusations yet.
All right, Adrian believes in you so far, so good, Jen. And now, Darren, how about you? Is this story missing Mark, or is it missing the truth?
I'm have a little hard time believing that Mark's got enough game to get Miss Tanline to talk to him. So that's a little suspicious to me.
You don't even know Mark. So judgmental, and he may be missing forever. Wow. All right. Hey,
I know a lot of people like Mark, okay?
more criticism for the potential missing, possibly dead Mark. That's fine. All right, Adam. I believe the round tracker 9000 looks to be full as far as round one. So what does that mean?
That means, Carlos, we're going to round number 2. Here we are. We're in round number 2.
Where the points are worth double, the points were 0, so double times 0 is 0.
And that's just math, Carlos.
That's basic math there, Adam. You are correct. And folks at home, you are correct if you've been speculating as to who you think might be the bluffer and might be telling the truth so far. Feel free to do so. And if we like what you say, we'll put it up right there, other way, right there at the bottom of the screen there. Okay, so now we're in round 2. And we're going to go back to Darren. You are going to continue your tale now. You were telling us about holy grails and Sheba stories, and I want to see what other stories you can have as excuses to bring up more of your collectibles and props from your Etsy store. So again,
I don't have any more props this time, I promise.
I see so many props behind you; it's insane.
I could get
Darren,
some.
You will have another 60 seconds to continue your story, so you can begin again when you hear the boom.
So, what are Shiva stones? So, let's start with what they really are, and I mean geologically speaking. A Shiva stone is a type of cryptocrystalline quartz containing iron oxide deposits and inclusions of minerals like agate, basalt, feldspar, and jasper. They're named after Shiva, the god of gods in Hinduism. Shiva is also known as the destroyer, which is not necessarily a bad thing because in Hinduism, they recognize that all things are part of a cycle of creation and destruction. And so destruction of the old is part of the birth of the new. And so Shiva stones are meant to embody the power of Shiva to destroy the old and give birth to the new. This means that they're used in rituals to foster the growth of crops or fertility rites to bring babies to childless women. Now, I'm not saying that they actually work. I'm just saying that Steven Spielberg borrowed them as sort of a MacGuffin for the Temple of Doom.
Okay, all right. Drew, is this story about a MacGuffin or is it full of infactual stuffing by Gary? They all can't be winners, Drew. Go ahead.
I'm always a fan of a good MacGuffin in a movie plot. Uh, yeah, he just throwing out a lot of facts here. You mentioned like what the Shiva stones are made of, and he's started rattling off all these like he said it started with crypto something, and then made me think, is this the original cryptocurrency, the Shiva stones? But otherwise, I'm not sure. It's like is he getting this from Wikipedia or just some IMDb website?
Wow.
All right, that's
That's
fired.
some bargain basement.
Adri, so far in round one, you were willing to give both of these guys the benefit of a doubt. So, Darren has been telling us how Shiva stones, the quartz, include minerals, but does his story include facts?
I'm starting to lean towards not. Um, and all the red flags came up when he said crypto crystallized quartz.
Huh?
Come on. Anybody putting those three sounds together was not a scientist. It was Darren.
Boom. Too much alliteration makes the baby go blind, Darren.
That's,
All right. Now we
that's
have
how it
Adri
goes.
up. Now we have Adri up with the second part of her story. She was telling about nuns and their crazy, crazy habits. When you hear the boom, you can continue.
All right, so where we left off, she was basically a vagrant. She was just walking around and she ran into a peasant and pleaded him for his pants. He gave him his pants, and for whatever reason, she decided to cut all of her hair off and assume the persona of Francisco de Loyola. And this is who she would identify as for like the next few years. Eventually, she got a job as a messenger and then an accountant. Then she became the page for the secretary to Spain's king. His name was Philip III at the time. The secretary was so impressed with how Francisco was that he offered him a job at the mansion. So she worked there for a while as Francisco until one day her dad shows up and he was there to ask the secretary for help to find his daughter. She sees this all going down and she's like, I'm out of here. So she grabs her stuff again and jumps over the wall and escapes. And she joins the Spanish Navy. And I'm going to pick up on the third part of this story in round 3.
All right. All right, we're hearing about the Spanish Navy, Darren, or are we hearing about some fiction, maybe?
What I'm hearing is the plot to the movie Some Like It Hot. Some people cross-dressing and then traveling and joining the Navy to escape whatever, some sort of fight. And by the way, it's on Broadway right now as a musical. It's fantastic.
Oh.
Some Like It Hot. Okay. Writing that down.
Billy Wilder movie with Jack Lemmon, Marilyn Monroe. Nobody's ever heard of it. Best Picture winner.
Who's the other person? Jack Lemmon and who else?
Oh, Tony Curtis.
Tony Curtis. There you go.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you're a producer, Darren. That's the only reason you're plugging it. Stop plugging your stuff, Darren. No. Okay, so Drew, Adrian was telling us the story of that included Philip III, or maybe her story's just a big turd.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
good.
Thank you.
Good rhyming.
I'm intrigued by Peasant Pants. The Peasant Pants sounds like a good improv team name. Um, yeah, this is definitely a roller coaster of a story. Whether it's true or not, I'm still up in the air. I want to hear more.
I understand.
Also, good movie, Up in the Air.
Also produced by Darren.
I think, yeah, or Darren has a big collection of DVDs he's trying to unload on his Etsy channel. Enough of this. You trying to sell things to us, Darren.
Also
Drew,
true.
it's your turn.
Okay.
The round track of 9,000 says you're the only person who hasn't gone in this round two yet. So we're going to give you 60 seconds on the house to continue your story, and you may begin when you hear the boom.
The Narco Satanists were an occult gang in Matamoros led by Adolfo the Godfather Constanzo. As a boy, Constanzo spent his time between Miami and Puerto Rico. He was raised Catholic, but also was exposed to Haitian voodoo. As a teenager, he became an apprentice to a local sorcerer who practiced a religion called Palo Mayombe, involving animal sacrifice. He moved to Mexico and began to run a profitable business casting spells to bring good luck. These spells involved expensive ritual sacrifices of chickens and goats and more exotic animals like zebras and lion cubs. His clients included corrupt policemen and powerful drug cartels. He gained followers and started to raid graveyards for human bones to put into his cauldron. He then decided that the spirits of the dead coming out of the cauldron were not good enough. He needed human sacrifices instead of old bones. So they started kidnapping humans.
This one took a turn, dude. It got dark real quick. Oh man. Okay. Adri, we have Drew talking about old bones. I mean, is this legit or is Drew just being a bonehead?
Um, so the whole time I was like, what does this have to do with the first part of his story? And in the last sentence, kind of wrapped it up there. There's some interesting elements there. I'm not ready to raise any red flags yet. I'm looking forward to the third round, and I hope that it all comes together. It sounds weird. It sounds weird. I'm just gonna leave it at
No,
that.
I guess you just reminded me of what you started with. I'm really concerned about this Mark James Gilroy. Oh no, what's going on? Darren, we're listening about some narco Satanists. Is this narco or is this uh-oh?
What's so weird that Drew brought that up, because Narco Satanist is the name of my failed TV pilot that I tried to sell to the USA Network. And he kept talking about casting, and the casting for that was just terrible.
You're welcome, narco Satanist or not, at USA. I'm sorry that your pitch failed there, but you know what? You're going to have one more round to be able to pitch. I'm sure you'll find a way to work in your spec script. You've been working in everything else you want to sell. As we transition from round two to round three, Adam.
Here we go. We are now in round number 3. It's the final round of this week's episode of History Bluffs.
It's still anyone's game. It can be any of our armchair historians. Again, if you're watching right now, feel free to start the real deep speculation. Go crazy with your guesses. Use what they said against them by all means. Darren, it's your turn now to finish your story. It's time for you to take us home, Darren, with your tale of the Shiva stones. So when you hear that boom, you have 60 more seconds. Your final 60 seconds, make them count.
All right. Now, if you remember Temple of Doom, you'll remember that the Shiva stones were stolen by some pretty bad dudes called Thuggies. Thuggies are a real cult that was active in India since probably the 1300s. Now, the Thuggies in the movie were not interested in the creation aspect of the Shiva stones. They were interested in the destruction aspect of Shiva's power, which they were using for human sacrifice. You remember when that guy was going to rip out Indiana Jones' heart? Kalima Shakti, Kalima! Yeah, that's all made up. Thuggies were basically just bandits who would waylay travelers and steal their stuff. It's how we got the modern word thug. But they were basically just like organized crime. There's no evidence at all that they engaged in human sacrifice, let alone any kind of weird religious stuff. It's all just typical Hollywood brown face, okay? So to summarize, Shiva stones are real, part of Indian mythology. Thuggies are real, part of Indian history. But the way they're portrayed in Indiana Jones is all made up.
Very much. Oh boy. Adri, heard a lot about Shiva from Darren. Oh, Shiva. Is Darren telling us the truth? What do you think, Adri?
I still feel like there's some red flags there. And the only takeaway I have is that Thuggies makes me really want to give some huggies.
That's nice.
That's all I got.
I'll take a huggy. Okay.
Gotcha. No, you don't get any huggies, Adam.
Oh.
No huggies for you. Drew, you can have some huggies, but you know what? We're hearing about Kali Ma, Drew, but some people are thinking Kali Na.
Oh. Wow.
Think about Darren's story.
Yeah.
I'll accept that proudly. Thank you, Adam.
I'm here.
Yeah, the whole story was to me just this is a long winded way to just get down to the fact that thugs is short for thuggies, and that's really if that's not true, then then I'm going to be very disappointed. So I don't know about the rest of the story, but I want that part to be true.
So we got a lot riding on this. Drew's hopes and dreams are riding on you being one of the truthful speakers today. So hopefully you are. Adri, we're going to go to you now. You now have your final 60 seconds to wrap up your story, and you can begin when you hear the boom.
Okay, so at this point in the story, Catalina is 19. She leaves for Mexico. She's joined the Navy. She gets there and immediately starts this pattern, this ritual in her life where she basically deserts everybody, joins another military, becomes an incredible soldier, kills a bunch of people, becomes extremely violent, goes to jail, escapes, and then does the same thing over and over again until she's about 33. That's when she gets injured, and she calls for like a priest to come give her last rites. And once she's there, she confesses everything, that she's not really a man, that she always wanted to be a nun and dedicate her life to the religion, that she was still a virgin. And the priest was like, well, I need to confirm this. So he had two ladies basically confirm that she was, the words are still a maid, I guess was what they called it. Anyways, after that, she met with the Pope, who said, hey, it's cool if you cross-dress. Don't believe that. And then eventually she dies because she drowns getting off of a ship in really rough waters. That's the story.
That is for this nun. Drew, is this a true story about someone who's still a maid, or have we all just been getting played? What's going on here?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Well, it's interesting. So the only thing that really sounds true to me is the fact that when you're 33, that's when you start to get injured really easily. That's really about the cutoff point. So that tracks. But the rest of the story, I don't know. I'm feeling like there's elements of like Les Mis in here, or Joan of Arc, or some like Lifetime rom-com that's it's like she's taken all of these and just merged them into this story. So I am very suspicious.
Oh boy, very sus, very sus. You know, Darren, we've been hearing a lot about what this nun did. She was a nun. She was in the Navy. She was a soldier. She did, you know, she wore pants at some point. She did a bunch of stuff. Was she trying to be the first iteration of the YMCA, the Village People? What's going on here? Let's doing a lot of different roles here. What's happening?
I was struck by two things. The first, that somebody who was in the Navy would die by drowning after they're out of the Navy, but also the age, like 33. I thought that was how old Jesus was. I think this is some sort of like allegory that she's pawning off as a real story.
Oh boy, metaphor.
Huh.
I should remind folks that there was some confusion in the first round for Adri when she first said 1952, then she said 1592.
Oh.
All right, Drew,
Uh-oh.
it's up to you. You're gonna close out the third round here with the closing of your story, and then we're gonna figure out who is our bluff and who's not. And we'll see if it's you or not. We don't know yet, but you're gonna have 60 more seconds on the clock to convince us that you're not the bluff, and you can begin when you hear the boom.
Okay, so the process of kidnapping humans escalated when Costanzo decided he needed the power of a brain of an American student. This brings us back to poor Mark, wrong place at the wrong time. The cult snatched him off the street and took him to the leader at a ranch. He spent the first night just tied up in the trunk of the car before being taken out and tortured for hours. Finally, Constanzo sacrificed Mark with a machete to the back of his neck and skull. They dismembered him and placed his brain in the cauldron. The rest of his body was buried in the field. Now, the disappearance of an American student drew more attention than they anticipated, so Constanzo and his followers fled to Mexico City. They were discovered when police were called to an apartment for an unrelated dispute. Thinking he had been caught, he opened with fire with a machine gun, and then he ordered one of his followers to kill him, and that's how he was taken down.
Boy, dark ending for true story. Costanzo, more like can't stand him. Am I right? That's the only.
What did you just say? What?
You heard me.
I did.
I said I'm deeply apologized. Deeply apologetic. Darren, what are we thinking of Drew's story? Is he doing the strategy of trying to go dark to make us believe that it's true?
Maybe. I'm struggling with the idea that they're like, we need a brain. Let's go with some kid who thinks he is got enough game to talk to Miss Tanline and entice him over. Like, how much brain are they going to get out of that? Just a few tablespoons or something?
I believe that Miss Tanline would stoop so low as to help people take American visitors. Adrian, say anything still about Miss Tanline.
Oh, well, the story started out exactly like my 19-year-old self in Mexico and ended up not at all like that trip, which
That's good.
it makes me really, I'm still here. It makes me very uncomfortable if this is a true story, which makes me want to believe that it's not. I have a hard time believing that somebody would want a cauldron of human bones. I find it hard to believe that somebody would want to kidnap like a student, a kid, especially an American. Like, these people aren't dumb. They know that it would be a monumental mistake. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this.
Oh boy, yeah. Fingers crossed this didn't happen. We're kind of hoping that Drew's a history buff today, but we don't know. He's pretty serious. It might be one of the others. Speaking of, now is the time of the show. We've gone through everyone. Everyone's told us their stories. So now we're going to go one more time through all three armchair historians to figure out who they think, final time, final choice, to tell us who they think the history bluff is. And remember, one of them is the history bluff, so they'll be trying to throw us off the scent by throwing someone else under the bus. Let's start with you, Drew. Who do you think the bluff is? If it's not you, who is it?
Looking at my notes, I feel like, Darren had definitely a lot of factual stuff in Darren's story. He might have thrown some curveballs in there. That might have been his tactic. But comparing it with Adri's story, I think there's just too much craziness going on, and I'm saying this nun is just a bad habit and a bad story.
Oh, none of this, none. Adri, who do you think the bluff is?
I think the bluff is the person who both had alliteration and props in their story. I'm going with Darren as the bluff.
All
He's
right.
not happy.
Hachi's a really small guy.
He's not happy that you used the wrong type of holy grail. Okay, Darren, please get that thing off camera. It's right, and tell us who you think the bluff is.
I have to agree with Drew. There's so much weird stuff going on in Adri's story that I just can't wrap my head around it or his head around it.
Jeez.
Oh boy. Okay, folks. Well, we have both Darren and Drew suspecting Adri, and Adri in kind suspects Darren. What this means is, if Drew is the bluff, then I think he kind of wins because he's made it so that everyone is thinking he's the bluff.
That's
and
right.
This is your final chance. Those of you at home watching, playing the home version, your final chance to guess. Put it in the comments. Let us know who you think the bluff is. And you know what? Now we're going to go to the part of the show where we reveal, because the only person that knows is Adam. So Adam, take it away.
All right, I'll have you step off of our virtual stage, my friend, host Carlos, and I'm going to line up the perpetrators. Are they history buffs or bluffs? We're going to find out. Was your bluff Darren? Was your bluff Drew? Or could your bluff have been Adri? I have the knowledge. The bluff for this whole episode has been Darren. He's trying to be immortal. He's trying to immortally come through.
I chose poorly.
Oh,
Yes.
well, you know what that means? Adri guessed correctly. So Adri is the champion for this week's game.
All right, way to go, Adri.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, anything you can say, Darren, that's you, Drew. Drew, can you believe that Darren was the bluff? Like, did he blow your mind? How did he trick you? What made you not think it was him? What did he say to you? That
You
it
know
wasn't-
what? Just it just so much the truth about Indiana Jones movies. I think that threw me off. That threw me off the scent.
Yeah, that's true. They got a lot of facts and fun stuff in those movies.
All right, I told you, he just had the props. Kaiser shows the story
He did.
because of all the Indiana Jones props he has at his home. You know what, though? It was a fun game. Adri, congratulations. Let's all do this again next week. Same bat time. Same Bluff channel. You know what, Mr. Tech, why don't you take us home?
All right, you got it, Carlos. We're here every week. Tune in where you get your podcasts. You can hear the audio versions of our episodes or watch us live every week on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. See you next week.
Bye.